Now, obviously, we have the presentation, which we've already met two of our special guests here today. But I'd like to go ahead and receive a presentation from the Human Investment Project HIP Housing, which Kate will go ahead and talk about their programs and housing statistics in this San Mateo County, please.
Hello, my name is Kate Comfort Hart. I am Executive Director of HIP Housing. We provide creative, affordable housing solutions throughout San Mateo County. And I'm here tonight for a couple of reasons. And I'm just going to run over and start my PowerPoint. So tonight I'm here to do three things. First is to do a calendar presentation for the HIP Housing Annual Calendar. The second is to talk a little bit about the crisis that San Mateo County is facing in affordable housing. And then finally to talk about why HIP Housing is a good answer for that crisis and the work that we've done here in San Bruno. So to start the presentation, I want to call your attention to the calendar that each of you have gotten. This is our annual calendar. Each year we ask school children from throughout the county to draw pictures and tell us what home means to them. Then we have to pick 12, and it's always really, really hard. But this year is really special because we had 3 winners on our calendar contest that were from the city of San Bruno. The first is in March, the second is in April, and then the third one is at the very end because we've actually added a 13th month because we had to pick one more. So I'd like to call up 2 of our winners tonight to read their quote and show you what housing means to them from the eyes of a child. So Kendall and Kyle, can you come over and join me, please? So we'll start with Kyle. And Kyle is March, so if you go to March, you'll see him there.
I can't wait to come home every day to my safe and cozy house. It makes me happy to help my little brother read and play, be creative. We can also be really silly too.
Perfect. Good job, Kyle. So Kendall is April, so if you just turn one more page.
My name is Kendall Mendoza. I am in 1st grade. I go to Bertola Elementary School. My house means family. It means warmth and love.
There's no better expression of what home means than from the words of a child. So what I'd like to do now is talk a little bit about what's happening in San Mateo County. So San Mateo County is actually facing an unprecedented crisis in affordable housing. By any standard, we're one of the most expensive places to live in the country. 1 in 5 families can't currently afford their housing situation, and 2,100 people sleep homeless each night. That's up 12% since 2011 when we did our last homeless count. 211, which is the United Way's service line to call for referrals, takes more referrals for housing-related issues than any other issue. 36% of their calls come for housing-related services. The next closest thing is food insecurity, and that's only at 10%, so by 26% more calls than for anything else. The Section 8 shelter wait lists, the Section 8 wait lists are closed for the most part. There is a list of interest that's open, but basically the wait to get into Section 8 housing is about 8 years. And the shelters also have long wait lists, and they're very complicated to get into a shelter at this point. There's been an increased demand for rental housing that's been fueled by the foreclosure crisis. So not only did people who owned homes get forced out of their homes and into the rental market, but people who rented homes that were foreclosed on or apartments that had been foreclosed on also were forced into the rental market. As a result, we've seen increasing rent rates go up ever since 2007. And right now, a one-bedroom apartment in this county is $2,100 on average. The occupancy rate in this county is also 97%. So that means that even if you can afford a place to live, you probably can't find it. We've seen a loss of middle-income families as more earning $200,000 and above go up, meaning the income disparity is growing in this county. Realignment, investors buying rental properties and pushing the prices up, the growing distribution of income, the growing gap in income, and the slow recovery for those at the lowest levels of the economy has really caused what we are truly calling a crisis in affordable housing. There's also a misconception about job growth. We are definitely going to have job growth. In fact, we're going to have a lot of job growth, but not all of it's going to be high-tech, high-paying. The majority of jobs that are going to be coming to San Mateo County are going to be in the service industry, paying $50,000 or less. As a result, what we're going to see is that EMTs, teachers, sales folks, bank tellers, all aren't going to be able to afford to live here. On average, any one of those, if you start with a school teacher, you can see the graph there, they make just under $70,000. In order to be able to afford even a $1,900 apartment, it's going to be, you have to make about $83,000. So what we see is there just isn't enough housing and enough affordable housing. We've also seen a major funding decrease in how we get affordable housing created, really tying the hands of most municipalities. So between the demise of the redevelopment agencies, which most people thought those were, the big funders of downtowns and stadiums, well, they were also the primary funder for affordable housing development and programs. So we've seen $1 billion in losses to affordable housing programs throughout the state in the loss of RDAs. The HUD cuts to CDBG grant funding has been about a 51% decrease in funding available for housing right now. Sequestration, the Palmer decision, which was the decision that as at the state level that says that you can no longer require inclusionary housing, that you really have to be cautious to do that. So most cities are not requiring developers any longer to provide affordable units when they do new development. That, and then the final blow to the housing funding cycle was the community foundations. So the Silicon Valley Community Foundation announced over the summer that they will no longer fund safety net services. So as of 2014, all housing and food-oriented agencies no longer receive funding. We lost 50,000, Shelter Network lost 125,000, Second Harvest Food Bank lost about 200,000. So between Santa Clara and San Mateo County, 32 agencies were affected by that decision by the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. So what does that mean? It means people have to live pretty far away in order to be able to work here. We have about 184,000 people that commute into the county every day, creating traffic issues. And for those at the lowest income and lowest earning levels, it's just not sustainable. If you're making minimum wage and you're living far away, you're spending likely about 70% of your income on housing and transportation. It's not sustainable. So what ends up happening is that you're going to end up, because we have an affordable housing shortfall, we're going to end up with workforce shortfalls as well. And who's hit hardest? Of course, those at the lowest income levels and seniors and those with disabilities. So as a result, we have to use what we have much more efficiently. And that's where HIP housing comes in. We've been here since 1972. We have 3 programs. All of them utilize existing housing stock to create new affordable housing: home sharing, self-sufficiency, and property development. Since 1972, we've helped 66,000 people to find housing-related referrals and services. We've actually placed almost 20,000 people in housing. Each year, currently we're placing about 1,400 people in affordable housing. 700 of those are in our home sharing program, another 450 in our properties, and 250 in our self-sufficiency program. We field about 3,000 calls. We're actually tracking at about 3,300 calls this year for housing-related services. But the primary thing is we really look for creative ways to create affordable housing. Home sharing, one of our premier program, partners those who have space in their home with those who need a place to live, thus turning an existing house into a new affordable housing option. The average home share is going to spend about between $600 and $800 for rent. So when you compare that to $2,100 for a one-bedroom apartment, it becomes one of the only affordable options available. We provide criminal background checks, we do income verification, we put together lengthy living together agreements. For our seniors and home sharing, we do quarterly follow-up calls so that we make sure that everybody understands the relationship and that to try and ensure that the relationships are successful. We have one of the largest home sharing programs in the nation. We have the only one on the peninsula. Santa Clara County had a small one. It closed this year. There isn't one in San Francisco. There's a small one on the East Bay. But for the most part, we work with about 1,900 people a year. Like I said, the average rent is somewhere between $600 and $800. We provide professional long-term case management, and we're sponsored by private foundations, donors, the County Department of Housing, and 18 of the 21 municipalities, including San Bruno. You've been long supporters of our home sharing program, and we so appreciate that. Home sharing is good for everyone, right? It creates community. It can partner a senior with a student. It can partner someone from San Bruno with someone from Millbrae or San Mateo. It creates community. It benefits every community in the county. And it is an immediate way to address the risk of homelessness. Many of our clients now, 80% more than we had even 4 years ago, are now either homeless or at risk of homelessness as a result of not being able to find housing in the county. There are about 60 home sharing programs internationally, 70 programs throughout the U.S. We've consulted with most of those in setting up because we do have a very intensive database and the model program throughout the county. We've been featured on CBS Evening News. Oprah actually featured us in one of her programs. Jackie Spear is a strong supporter of us. Her parents were actually home providers at one point. And then local news has covered us. In fact, we were just interviewed yesterday by the Silicon Valley Business Times. Self-Sufficiency, our second program, is a welfare to work program, one of the top 7 in the state. For families who have children who are low income, who want to break their cycle of poverty, this program provides housing scholarships and long-term case management, life skills workshop, and housing placement opportunities. Basically, we allow people to focus on school. They have to have an identifiable school goal or educational goal. We help them meet those goals by providing the housing and the tools that they need in order to create a sustainable life. It's one of our most successful programs. 100% of the graduates report better housing situation when they leave the program. The average increase in income is about 81%, and 90% report better management skills. That's one of the things we really focus on in our workshops and skills-based learning. And the other thing is that all of them come out with about $1,300 in savings, and these are all folks who were literally referred from shelters or at risk of homelessness that had nothing when they came into the program. So that's pretty substantial. Finally, we own 14 properties throughout the county. Our newest acquisition was in Menlo Park. East Menlo Park is the first piece of affordable rental housing to go into Menlo Park in 25 years. It was a 12-unit complex, now home to 4 veteran families, 2 self-sufficiency families, and a variety of other low-income. So we do our property development by finding properties that are already in decay or in decline. We partner with the city, with the county, and with private funders to go in, rehab them, and make them permanently affordable housing. Our work in San Bruno. So in our fiscal year, crosses over 2 years, probably much like yours. But in 12-13, we took 98 calls from San Bruno. We interviewed 104 people who either work or live in the city of San Bruno. 13 participated in home sharing, and 2 participated in self-sufficient. That's just for that year. This year, we've had a 19% increase in clients applying to home sharing that live or work in the city of San Bruno. So while those numbers reflect what happened that year, currently in total we have 16 home providers and 16 folks matched here in San Bruno, which means we have 32 people participating in the home sharing program, and we have 5 self-sufficiency families working here. I am currently working on some language for housing elements, so expect something from me soon in the mail. And I just want to finalize this with with a great big, super big thank you, because San Bruno has been an amazing partner. We're so grateful for your support of affordable housing, your understanding for the need of it, and we hope that every time you look at this calendar, you'll be reminded not only of our programs, but the hope and the heart and the homes that are HIP housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Kate. Any questions from the council?
Thank you. Well,
Ken?
I got to say, from being a design professional for over 30 years, these kids, are way ahead of what I was, at their age. So
Try picking them when you.
right.
It's so hard to pick.
And I always look forward to getting. I know Bob George is a fellow architect and has always been gracious in getting us a calendar each year. And it's the main calendar I use. But this is the best presentation I've had as far as describing what HIP housing is about. And as much as it's so desirable to live in this area, I mean, since 1972, you've been constantly behind, I'm sure. And even though we have now focused on affordable housing and we did redevelopment and all this, we're still behind. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I appreciate what you're doing, and people just have to realize that it is a never-ending struggle to live in this great area.
Thank you,
this great
Councilman,
expensive area.
It is. It's a wonderful place to live. We just have to figure out how to make it good for everybody. Because for every one high-paying, high-tech job, we create 5 service positions, and that creates the lifestyle that we all want. So being able to house people close to where they work is key to keeping a lifestyle that we all want.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, Kate, thank you very much for your presentation. I think my colleague summarized it with all the work that you do and the efforts. And of course, we want to thank Mr. and Mrs. March and April. Kendall and Kyle, thank you for leading us in the pledge tonight. And thank you very much for reading us your statement. And a good job. Congratulations.